Well, there you are.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Karen Giles, Health and Wellness Coach, and today I'm interviewing the lovely LeeHancock, who's going to share with us her health journey till today and also how she doesn't let it stop her in her daily life with running her successful business as well. So welcome, Lee.
Thanks for having me, and thanks very much for the opportunity to share my story.
Oh, lovely to have you here.
I don't talk about it often, but it's a lovely opportunity.
Well, you're in a safe space here, and we all have a story, don't we, as to where we've come from and how we've worked through our struggles to get to where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
So I will leave it up to you as to where you'd like to start the journey, because as with everybody, our health and life journeys can be quite sensitive and bring up quite a bit of emotions. So where would you like to start today?
So I'll start when I turned 50 in 2008, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I had some health issues before that, like migraines and stuff, but this was a biggie for me. So what happened was I was very busy. And how I want to get this across to everybody is not for sympathy, but how stress around you can actually make you ill.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a relationship with somebody, and he was fighting with his ex-wife. It was terrible. I could always feel this blackness coming over my body when he would share, and obviously you're there to support. But sometimes I'd have to say to him, can you stop telling me stuff for now, because I can't take it, I can't absorb it anymore. And this is important for ladies to know. I got a letter from the government saying, you're 50 now, you need to go and get your breast scan. And I'm like, I had one when I was 40 in South Africa. There's nothing wrong with my boobs, I'm fine, there's no lumps. And I delayed going. And then eventually I thought, well, if I better go, and this is financial, I better go, because if I get it in the future, maybe the government won't pay for it because I didn't go for the pre-screening. So I made an appointment. That appointment, I went to the wrong place, at the wrong side of town. So then it was delayed. And when I eventually had my mammogram, I was then sent straight away to the Royal Perth Hospital, where they did ultrasounds and where there was a pandemonium. You don't know what's going on, but there's just pandemonium around you, and all these doctors coming in and whispering and what have you. And they had to do a biopsy straight away. They did a biopsy, an urgent biopsy. So because I suffered from migraines, I didn't find it that sore. And they were I remember them saying, wow, normally women are screaming by now, and you find I'm like, the headaches are worse than this. And the next day I was called into her office at 4:00, and she said, Judy Galloway was her name, I'll never forget. She sat across from me, chair to chair, as we sitting here, that close, although you're miles away, but a meter away. And she said the magic words, you've got breast cancer. And my mind started reeling, not with shock, but thinking, as a single woman, although I had a partner, he wasn't financially supporting me or anything, how am I going to pay for this? What's going to happen? Like the advert on TV, it's just like that. How am I going to pay for it? What's going to happen? How long can I work? Blah, blah, blah. Not, oh my goodness, I'm, got this serious illness. So after she explained everything, but because I was in my head, I didn't hear a word that she said. And she said to me, have you got any questions? And I said, yes. How much is this going to cost me? And she said, that's the last thing you should be worrying about right now. Anyway, I think it was only the next day when I went to work. I was going to work still as normal. Like I show up, Lucia, you know that. I just show up. So I went to work. But I couldn't go through the front door because I knew I was going to be a ball of, by then it had hit me and I was going to be this ball of tears, and I didn't want everybody in the office to be asking me what was wrong. So somebody I used to work with, a very kind man, Gavin, said, no, you just go home and I'll just tell him you're not coming in today. And that started my health problems. because the breast cancer was relatively easy for me to deal with. I had the operation. I did the radiotherapy, which was very depressing, but I went to work every day. And I used to walk from the hospital back to my office and do my hours of work. And but mentally, I was not in a good place. That was a long journey, and you also find out then who supports you, who doesn't support you, and who people are scared to get involved, so they leave you alone. Some people come in and try and help. So you learn a lot, and I think the worst thing I did was not sharing that. I just kept it all in myself. My son knew. I'd call him on the way back from from having radiation treatment, and in tears because it was the worst place at the bottom of the hospital. All these strange people poking you, young men, taking photos of your boobs and touching you and not introducing themselves or anything. At least you want a name if you're going to strip down for people. But it was very depressing. And Terence would always say to me, just go home, Mom. And I'd say, no, if I'm at work, I won't be thinking about this. So I went through the treatment and everything and got declared. After it, then, I did my treatment and all that and carried on. I had to buy twice a year checks. So the first one I did, they found something. So I got the same call, the same drama. And when they said to me, hi, Kayleen, when they said to me, we need to tell you what you need to do, I just like, don't bother. I've had these calls before. I know the drill. I know what to do. But it was just the scarring, which was very traumatic for me because, and everybody goes through this, when you get a serious diagnosis, it's a very emotional, traumatic time, as Lucia knows, and, people who've been ill. And when it reoccurs or you get this fright that it's going to happen again, it draws you right back to that first time. And I was really mad afterwards because it was just the scarring, and they should have known that, from the operation. But every year after that, or twice a year, went for my ultrasound, I would cry because you were sitting waiting to have the ultrasound, and it was just everything came back to you. But I was actually fine after the breast cancer. I carried on as I do, and just carried on with life. However, I then got really, really, really ill, and this was what I was going to tell you about. So Graves' disease, I didn't know what that was, and I was getting migraines, shaking. I was literally shaking. I couldn't hold a pen. My eyes started to pop, and I couldn't see to work. And I worked on spreadsheets in the office. I was a senior cost specialist in the mining industry, managing billions of dollars of their money every day. But I was in quite a state, losing weight. I was really sick. And every time I went to see my GP, she just said it was a virus or I had a migraine because you get bad headaches. And I got that bad that I couldn't work. And eventually she tested me and it was Graves' disease. And when you look at the what the symptoms are, you could tick every single box, including a little red rash on the bottom of your legs, which I'd had for quite a while and asked her about. So I got annoyed because I knew I was sick, and I knew it wasn't a migraine, and I knew it wasn't a virus or a migraine or anything. It was something worse. And I just let her tell me that it was, I knew it wasn't. I'd go home and say, I know it's not a migraine, but I did nothing about it. So what I want to get across is that you need to follow your intuition, your body, and you know how sick you are, because by the time I got tested, my thyroid, which is a little like butterfly type gland, which runs your whole body, apparently, I didn't know that, was shriveled and black. So no medication could help. And nothing could help except the beautiful endocrinologist I saw said to me, "My goodness, you are very sick." And I'm like, "Yes, I know I am." He says, "You poor thing, you've been suffering." I'm like, "Yes, thank you. Somebody agrees with me." He says, "You didn't need to go through all of that. We know just from the bloods how bad you were." And he suggested radiation again. And I just said, "Nope, I've been there once. I'm not doing radiation." So the only other option was to have my thyroid removed. But I wanted to go on holiday. So I went on a holiday to Bali for 10 days and had a nice time. Got back, did the operation, and the hospital nearly killed me because what they did, it's a simple op. They just take your thyroid out. They've got to be very careful of your, I think it's a hypothalamus. No, the hypothalamus. Anyway, the gland behind which produces all your calcium, not to disturb that. And it's a simple op. It's an overnight thing. Panadol, Panadine, no, not Panadine, but paracetamol will do the pain. However, I found out later that, because now I don't remember this bit, but I found out later that they'd given me a whole lot of opiates and drugs. That you should never give a throat surgery person opiates because it makes you vomit. So I'd been vomiting all day. Nobody, the surgeon said he came in and he was like, "Oh, why is she still vomiting? She had the operation at 8 o'clock. Like, what's the problem?" And did nothing. So between them all, nobody did anything except kept on piling me with these opiates, which made me more sick. But it got to a stage where I wanted to go to the bath to vomit. The whole day was black for me. I can't remember anything. But then I woke up and I wanted to vomit, but I had no energy, and then I couldn't breathe. And they hadn't left the emergency button anywhere near me. It wasn't on the bed, and I was in a private room on my own, and I couldn't call anybody. So what I did was, the girls at work, amazing how you do things that you don't normally do. A magazine, the girls give me, I don't read magazines, but I've taken it for the nurses to read. It was lying there. Thank God they hadn't moved the little table, and I managed to throw it with my left hand out the door, and a nurse came running in, and blue coded. I lost consciousness. I lost breath. So I'd had this huge hematoma. So from a little operation that shouldn't have, like having a tooth pulled, nothing, it turned into a disaster because they had to get the emergency people up. They had to cut my throat, release all this blood all over. Then my bed was surrounded by all these medical people from emergency room, and they had to take me down. And by then I didn't wake up until 5 days later. They had to intubate me and try and resuscitate me because I'd lost consciousness. And I was in ICU for 5 days. So it's not the disease, it was really bad, but it was the after effects. And 5 days totally in another world. And then I went home. I couldn't talk. I couldn't walk. My brain wasn't connecting. So I would say words, but it wasn't a sentence. And I had no filters. So if I didn't like your top, Lucia, I would just say, "Why are you wearing that awful top?" And, just because my brain was just fried from the lack of oxygen. So it took quite a while. And then I was left alone. My ex-partner now, but he had a holiday booked with his daughter in Cairns. So he didn't care how sick I was. He went off on holiday. I couldn't drive or anything. So fortunately I had my church, and they bought me milk and bread and checked on me every day. But it was a long journey. I was off work 5 weeks, long journey back to being able to at least go to work for a few hours and what have you. But, I managed to survive that, survive the hospital. But that caused me a lot of immune systems down. I guess Graves' disease and cancer is an autoimmune disease. And so now I suffer from chronic pain and osteoarthritis and a whole lot of other things. But you know what, you just got to use and I realized, so when I got the breast cancer, I was going through that blackness with Ken. And then when I actually got the Graves' disease, which I believe is from the radiation, treatment because it's not far from my breast to my thyroid. But there was also a lot of stress at work because I was working my job plus doing my boss's job, and then another department wanted me to help them. So I was under a lot of pressure and stress. And we all know stress causes illnesses and disease. And I believe I never had thyroid issues before that, never ever. And that was the breast cancer was the start to the Graves' disease to now where I am today. And because of that incident in the hospital, I cannot take any drugs. I'm very sensitive to any painkillers or anything. I just can't have anything. So thankfully my migraines and headaches have gone away. So I actually take no tablets and I can only take paracetamol anyway, but I don't need them. And it's been a long journey. And the three top lessons I think I would like to say is that you need to follow your heart and your intuition, because we know our bodies. Nobody else knows our bodies. We know our bodies. And you know what? They're doctors. They got trained 100 years ago. They only know what they know, and they don't know what they don't know. And they're normally in a hurry, unless you've got a very good one that knows you very well. And I've been going to this doctor, a lovely lady, for years. Also what's that saying when they say familiarity breeds contempt?
Yeah.
They start to not listen to you. They just think it's this, and it's easy enough to say it's a migraine or it's a virus. But if you know better, you need to reach out and go and get a second opinion and get help. But that led me onto a health journey from the breast cancer, where I then started to look at other health options, natural products, organic, eco-friendly, and just doing the best that I could, because until you have a health issue, you're young and you're healthy, or you could be 50 and healthy and cycling around Perth and doing all sorts of things and not worrying about your health because you're healthy. Mm-hmm. Until something happens, then you start looking at alternative ways to be healthy. Any question? Have I answered all your questions?
Lisa, with the health journey that you've been along, because you've been through quite an ordeal, haven't you? I mean, I knew a part of it, but I had, to be honest, no understanding as to the intensity of it and the different stages along your journey. I was only aware of one. So it's quite an eye-opener, isn't it? And it's, if there would be one lesson that you would share with people today from your journey so far, what would that one thing be?
Well, the one thing would be to, first of all, don't panic. In the mind starts, there's a thing stop. So you stop, you check out the thing, and then you can check in, do whatever. I've forgotten what they are, even though I worked in. But you stop first. You don't get in this panic zone, and then you take some time to do a little bit of research and actually work out which is the best way for you, not just operation and not just all the treatments and all that. There are alternatives, and everybody's on their own journey. Mm-hmm. But I would suggest that if you just took some time, a day or 2 or 3, did a little bit of research, everything's there, you can research it all, and get somebody to help you. Always take somebody with you to the doctor, because you don't listen to what they're saying, and you go home and you just know that you're sick, but you don't know the details and the treatment and all of that. And then you research. So knowledge is power. Mm-hmm. Knowledge is power. And then you stand in your own authenticity, and you can do it your way. Who knows, I might have done the research and still gone that way, but a second time around, I would not go that way at all, not at all. And the thing it resulted in, I lost my job, because even though I was off for 5 weeks, I got demobilized rather quickly after my return to work. Mm-hmm. Of course, they denied that it was because I'd been sick, and I got into a lot of financial strife. All the money I'd saved, I had to use, in those 5 weeks because I was on a contractor. There were all these other things going on as well as trying to deal with the sickness. So I would recommend you stop, think, get somebody you can trust who's not emotional, who can do the research for you if need be, and just chat about it and talk to people, and then don't go too far in that rabbit hole on the internet though, but find the medical proof and then make a decision.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's all supporting you today too, isn't it, with your business and just with how empowering you are too, not just with yourself or to yourself, but also the other women and gentlemen in your community and also your social life, because that comes through in your social media posts with the conversations we have, you and I, and then I'm sure with you with other people as well.
I think it changes you because your whole life is turned upside down. And the best thing to be is not fall into that depression. And it's hard for some people. I mean, my situation at the moment is not very good. But I wake up every day and my first thought is, how can I motivate people today? And as pain, I have chronic pain at the moment. It's spiraled because of my stress at the moment. So my chronic pain is really bad, but I know it's stress related. And I just want to make other people happy. And that's why I get silly and stuff, because you can make other people happy. And actually it changes who you are. You put on the lashes and you become this crazy person.
But a fun, crazy person.
But there is another side to it, though. You look healthy, you dress nicely, you put on makeup, and people don't know what you're going through. And I'm really good at hiding. The whole time I was doing my radiation for 6 weeks, solid weeks, every day at the hospital first thing, nobody at work knew I was sick. When the last day, I think it was February, I finished my last radiation. I organized a tea party to celebrate. I called it a new beginning or something, and everybody came because there were cake, but nobody knew what I was celebrating, and they were shocked to find out. Only my boss knew and the HR people, but nobody else knew, and they were quite shocked. And the same, by the way, when I got divorced, I went to work every day and performed. Nobody knew. So I don't think it's a good thing. You need to share a bit, but you don't need to share everything. So
yeah, because when we hold so much stress and pressure within our bodies, it causes inflammation, doesn't it? And
it does.
Yeah, and it drags you down. It makes you even sicker. So yeah.
And then people, I eat very healthily. I can have junk food. Like yesterday was a disaster, but my friend and I went out to find something to eat, and it landed up a disaster and disgusting anyway, but I eat very healthily. And the other thing to note is you don't need to be a bad eater or have it in your genes. So the breast cancer, I was eating healthily, I was exercising, I didn't smoke, and I had a few drinks, but I didn't drink, I wasn't an alcoholic, and yet no family history. So as far as we know, I'm the first and only one that's had breast cancer. So, there again, there's that stress that's come in that maybe nobody else has had. You then want to change and think, well, why? I'm doing everything right, so why bother? Why not just eat, I don't know, I don't even like eating those things, but hamburgers and, fry, whatever. So don't change your eating habit, because I might not have survived as well as I did if I had been unhealthy and I got sick. I'm done talking. I'll just answer questions. I could go on forever, as you all know.
All right. Well, we'll end it there then today, Lee. Thank you so much. For everybody watching the recording and for those who are on the call at the moment, whereabouts can everybody find you, please?
Well, they can find me on Facebook on Lucia. Maybe I'll need to ask you where they should find me. I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll put some links in when you broadcast this, I'll put it in the event and the live. And Lucia Lucia can guide me which links to send everybody. But
Okay.
yeah, that'd be great. I'll do that.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time today. And yeah, an amazing story, and you're doing amazing work. And yeah, I'm sure everybody out there is so grateful for everything that you do and for sharing your story today.
Oh yes, let's take a picture.
Yeah. Oh yeah, good idea.
It's nice to be a guest.